So good morning to you, professors, and I welcome you to another session on business management on Omega Online vacation class. So we have been able to exhaust all discussions on business risks and insurance. I think we've taken our tests, and I can say that we are all very okay with the concepts under that topic. Now, today we are looking at the second one, which is international business. International business. And trust me, there are a lot of things that we need to pay attention to. A highly examinable area, very practical. So I would plead your indulgence that you give me all the maximum cooperation that you can give. Okay, international business. So like we do, what do you know about international business? What is your view? What have you heard? Or what do you know about international business? Let's share our thoughts, then we can get to the specifics we need to discuss under this topic. So who is going first? International business. A business that is international. Yes, who is going to give us the first? Yes, Morona, let's hear you.
Sir, please. There are transactions that's okay between companies that are located in different countries.
Okay, so Moroni says transactions between companies in different nations. Okay, well noted. Next person. Well, maybe I have to call people by their names. Professor Daniela, what's your view about international business? Okay, so after Daniela, I'll go to Rashid. So Daniela, let's hear you. I think Prof. Daniela is gathering some data about international business. So let me go to Rashid and then I'll come back to it. So Rashid.
International business involves cross-border trade between two or more countries.
Okay, cross-border trade between two or more countries. Okay. So we are having transaction, we are having cross-border trade. Okay, that's great. Yes, I want more viewpoint. Oh, professors, talk to me. Prof. Daniela, are you ready? Or I should go and come back again. Prof. Josephine, what's your view about international business?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
International business is when individuals or companies buy and sell goods and services between different countries.
Okay, so we are getting buy and sell goods between different countries. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you, Prof. Selikem.
Sir, please, international business is the exchange of goods and services across national borders, and it goes beyond just trade and the exchange of services. It can also be investment or production and partnerships.
Okay, so Prof. Selikem is giving us some other dimensions of international business. She makes the point about investments and partnerships. Awesome. Prof. Zoe, would you want to say something? Nadom should be waiting to contribute, and then I think Daniela had a challenge, so she's off network. Okay, so Prof. Zoe, tell us international business.
Sir, please, good morning.
Good morning.
His international business involves the trade of goods and services globally.
Okay, global. Thank you. So if I'm borrowing from all the thoughts that you have shared, then I can conclude that any sort of activity, okay, that is business oriented, that happens across borders of a country can be termed as international business. Okay, so in simple terms, you can say that international business, like I hinted in the introduction, is business, going on between countries or across borders of a country, right? Okay, so that's good. So any activity that is business oriented happening between or across national borders can be termed as international business. So I want to put my professors on the spot. I'm just going to make some statement and I'll ask you whether it cuts for an international business or otherwise. So if Mr. Ebenezer Yao Amwa, as I'm teaching you here online, I happen to get students who are from the United States of America, would you consider that activity, that is me teaching students from United States of America, as international business? Would you consider that? Today, if you don't talk, you worry me because God says my students should talk today. Otherwise, He would, cancel my first name in the book of life. Then it will be left with the surname. I don't want that to happen. So please talk to me. Unless you want to see me in hell, then don't talk to me. Yes, Moroni.
That is, yes, it's an international business.
Okay. So what is making you make that conclusion that it's international business?
Because it's across the borders of Ghana, so it becomes international.
Okay.
Since it's United States.
Okay. Great. Lamte, let me hear you then.
So this is because we said international business is the exchange of goods and services within cross borders. And in the scenario you give, you are offering services to the students in the United States of America. So that's a form of business transaction between the people in the United States of America and you as the teacher.
Okay. So now let me ask. I'm sure we all know of this, ECOWAS, UN, World Bank, AU, and all that. Would you consider their operations as international business? Yes, Portia, I think you want to share on that. Or let me even use the popular one, World Health Organization. You see them doing a lot of things, right, globally. they are providing services to people across national bodies. Would you consider that as international business? World Health Organization. I've mentioned the World Bank. I've mentioned, UN, AU, ECOWAS, all these organizations. Even the Red Cross Society is there. Would you consider the activities, or would you classify them as international business? Oh, today the network seems to be, Yes, Rashid, let's hear you.
Sir, please, I think it is not classified as international business.
Why?
Because the ECOWAS or national health, because the ECOWAS and National Health Organization is, I don't know, it's like countries that have come together to form up that's the National Health Organization, or so it's like you're already part of it.
Okay. I think I get your point, right? Okay, let me hear from, so I have three people, Selikem, Josephine, Portia. So let me hear from Selikem first, then I'll take Josephine and Portia. So Selikem, let me
Please, I think they are international businesses.
You think they are international business? Yes. Now,
No,
uh-huh.
no, please. No, I said I don't think they're international business.
Okay, you don't think they are international businesses. Okay, great. So if they are not international businesses, why? And what then would it be?
So I think their activities are international. Yes, but they are not international businesses because they are not seeking for profits. They are like non-profit organizations that just help in, development and health and those things.
Okay, interesting there. Let me hear from, I won't comment now. Let me hear from Josephine, Portia. Now I have Augustine. So Josephine, let's hear your viewpoint.
Please, it's not an international business because they deal with public health. So that's like the job they do. They do not sell or buy goods and services for profit. So it's a non-profit organization.
Okay. Prof. Portia. Yes, let's see.
The fees for ECOWAS is not an international business, but rather is a regional intergovernmental organization of West African countries. And for the World Health Organization, it's also not an international business like the ECOWAS. I don't know, it's not a business, but it's kind of influence international businesses. And they just help in public, like global public health, but it's not an international business.
Okay. Finally, Prof. Augustine Akoli.
So please, I also agree with them.
Okay, thank you. So yes, I also agree with you. That's what I can basically say. But the main point is about what you mentioned, that these businesses are not profit oriented, right? They are just interested in the welfare of people, providing goods and services to enhance the welfare of people with no profit-making motive. So you should be able to tell what an international business is looking at the profit-making orientation or characteristic or feature of that particular organization. So all the businesses that are involved in transacting or exchanging goods or rendering services with the aim of making profit could be referred to as international business organizations. So that's the point I wanted to put across. So the fact that a transaction is happening, or let's say an activity, that is the better word, an activity is happening across borders, you cannot just conclude that it is an international business. That activity should be one that has some profit orientation or profit feature. Okay, great. Is that a question for me? Augustine, your hand is up. Is that a question?
Sir, please no.
Okay. So based on this definition, then we can all say that international businesses are those businesses that are interested in profit or are transacting or doing business across nations with the mindset of making profit. Okay, I think there's a question from Rashid. Let's hear it.
Yeah, please. You said organization is a non-profit making organization.
Yes.
That is. So the question is that, so the drugs they bring, is it for free or they sell it to us?
So one of the features of profit making or non-business, let me use the word non-business organization, is that yes, if the mindset was to make profit, trust me, we could not afford those drugs they bring. So yes, they might not be giving it to us for free, but whatever we pay, do we even pay something? Most of them are even free, but even the ones that we pay, what we pay is nowhere near the costs involved in securing those medications. Remember that these are also organizations that need funds to support their activities. So most of the times, these organizations seek to also seek funds to support their activities. So yes, we are giving you the medications, right? But instead of paying 10,000 cedis, we say you pay 5,000. Such a business is not profit, or such an organization is not profit oriented, because no profit oriented business will give you a drug that costs 10,000 at a rate of 5,000, right? So that is what makes them distinct from business organizations who are more fixated on profit, and they will never give things to you free or even at a subsidized price. No, they would always want to give it to you and earn profit. Okay, so, but really, I may have to find out if really the medications the World Health Organization provides will really pay something. That I'm not too sure. I think it's an assignment we should all go and find out if Ghana, for example, pays something for drugs supplied by the World Health Organization, or even if they come and render some services to us, we pay them. We may have to investigate that, right? Okay. Well, I think we can quickly see if we can get some meaningful information. Okay. So I'm digging up something for us. Another question or a contribution? Yes, Augustine.
Sir, please contribute.
Okay.
Sir, please. I think that Ghana doesn't pay the drugs directly. The drugs is free, but the shipping is what Ghana pays for.
The shipping is what Ghana pays for.
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you for that. Daniela, you want to add something? But you see, in my thinking, I don't think who is set up to sell drugs. No, they wouldn't sell drugs to countries with the intention of making profit. I think at best, you see, World Health Organization is more about setting standards and issuing guidelines on on issues about health, right? But even if it's the case that they want to supply a country with some drugs, I'm sure it will be through some subcontracting. Maybe they will see the pharmaceutical that is producing those drugs, and maybe the countries will negotiate to get the drugs. At that point, the transaction will be between the country and the pharmaceutical company, right? So I think it's not a matter of who trying to sell the drugs to make profits themselves. No, that I can say is never the case. Who is not set up to be profiting? That's what we want to get clear. Okay, so even if they are engaged in some form of transaction, there is no profit mentality there. And so you cannot classify that as an international business transaction. Okay. Let me even give an example. During this COVID-19 thing, I'm sure World Health Organization was involved in, getting countries to get access to some of the vaccines, right? I'm not sure the World Health Organization could produce the vaccines themselves. So maybe the best they could do was to, help countries procure from the companies that were manufacturing these vaccines, right? So I don't think who is directly involved in, trading to make profit. So, Prof. Rashid, I think that would be my answer to your question. Okay, so yes, some of the drugs that are procured through WHO or maybe comes in the name of World Health Organization, I'm sure there are arrangements that are not, profit-making arrangements. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so thanks, but that was a good question. Thank you. So now let's define this international business and then we can move on. Trust me, you are going to be doing lots of the work. So I'm introducing the topic, we'll discuss few points and then you pick up, some of the main themes as our second group work or group presentation. So let's define international business. Let's write something down. International business refers to all commercial transactions and it could be private or governmental, right? So all commercial transactions that take place between two or more countries. Between two or more countries. I think you can put that down. So all commercial transactions that take place between two or more countries. Now, when we say commercial transaction, it simply means an activity where there is an exchange of goods or services, okay, with the purpose of making profit, okay. So whether it is a private company selling in Ghana, selling to another private company, or even to a government in another country, since there is that element of profit making, we can refer to that as an international business transaction. So we have lots of international business in, all around us. Let's look at some of the examples of international business organizations that we have. And I will take the lead by mentioning we have Toyota Ghana, right? Should I continue the list, or you tell me? I think each of us can give one. I have mentioned Toyota Ghana. No, Toyota, I should say Toyota. Daniela, any international business organization you know? I think Daniela's network is not giving her. Selicam, let's hear you.
Please, Apple.
Apple is one of them, right? We in fact, that's the order of the day. People now love Apple products than anything, right? Their laptops, their phones. But I think they design their product in California, but some of the assembling and production things are done in China and Vietnam. Yeah. Okay, Rashid, let's hear you.
MTN.
Did you say quick loan?
MTN.
MTN Group, yeah. I thought you mentioned quick loan. So MTN, right? From MTN is South Africa, right? South African company. Okay. Moroni.
Yes.
Say Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola. You love Coca-Cola, eh? Coca-Cola, yes. Josephine.
Please, Samsung.
Samsung. One of my colleagues pronounced it as Samsung. Samsung. Okay. Augustine.
Sir, please, Nestle.
Nestle. Okay. Nestle company. Nestle. Okay. I think Nestle originally they are from Switzerland. Nestle, but we have one in Ghana. Nestle Ghana. Okay, so all these, but you see, you people are not mentioning some of the Ghanaian companies. I mentioned Apple. Most of them are having their origins from the European countries. But we have some countries, some businesses in Ghana that are Casapreco. Casapreco is a global or an international business organization. Or you don't know. You don't know that. Or it's a bad example. Yeah, Rashid.
So can you say Guinness? Guinness.
In fact, let's limit ourselves to the, I'm not taking any more. Okay, which of the Guinness? Is it the Malta Guinness or the alcoholic Guinness?
The company that produces the Guinness also produces Malta Guinness and other stuff.
Okay, okay, well noted. So yes, I mentioned Casapreco, producers of these whole lots. I don't want to go into their products because I don't want any of my professors going to check on what they produce. Okay. But you see, these companies we have mentioned, all transact businesses, across this Casapreco I'm talking about, even as far as Germany, they have their products there. Okay. And all that. Okay. But just to comment on Rashid's point, the Guinness Ghana we have here, that is not the original company. The original company, I think, I'm not too sure, but started somewhere in is it Dublin or something related to Dublin. Yeah, but we have one in Ghana. That's the Guinness Ghana. Right? So we have Guinness Ghana, but the Guinness company itself has its history, I think somewhere in Ireland, Dublin or something. Okay, so let's move on. So at least we know some of these international business, a lot of them. EcoBank is one, StanCharts, okay. A lot. And I know you can mention examples of these companies when the time comes. Okay. Now, I want us to dig further into certain things. Now, you people didn't mention your favorite, KFC. Okay, KFC. What is the full name of KFC? The full meaning of KFC, if there is anything like that. You people have been enjoying KFC. If you don't tell me the full meaning of the KFC.
Kentucky.
See them all. See the KFC lovers. Kentucky Fried Chicken, eh? Okay. So it's originated from America, right? And the county, in fact, the key, that's the Kentucky is a place in the United States, right? Okay. If you didn't know, shame on you. You have been chopping their chicken, you didn't know. So KFC, for example, you see has lots of branches in this country, Ghana, right? Okay. So I wanted to add that one since you patronize KFC. Now, what I want us to do is to determine the approaches to international business. Okay. And if you appreciate, we have the parent companies set up in the, let me say, the domestic country, and then they now spread to several countries. So it means that for you to even engage in, foreign commercial transactions or whatsoever, you can't just stand up and do it. There are certain approaches or methods you have to use. And professors, we need to discuss these approaches to international business. So for example, if Omega, we want to go international, right? What are some of the methods or what approaches can we use to go international, right? That is what I want us to discuss. So how do you think that Coca-Cola company, or let me use KFC, which started in the United States, how did it all of a sudden get to Ghana and other countries? What approach did they use? It's technical, eh? Yes, I think there was a hand up. I didn't see the person. Yes, Augustine.
Please, I think franchising. Franchising.
Hey,
So
please.
franchising.
Franchising. What is that?
Yeah.
What is that? I haven't heard it before. So explain to us.
Okay, sir, please. Sir, please. It's like you going to, for example, like you take a business like Nestor from Switzerland. So you go to Switzerland to the parent company. Then you go and go and say, please. Then you go and like, how do I? Oh.
Okay, so Augustine, reorganize yourself and come. Rashid, let's hear you.
So about the franchising. Yeah, it's about, let's say, for example, KFC like this. Let's say they started in United States. And me as a young entrepreneur, like coming up, I want to like sell their product. So there I go to their company or I message their company and tell them that I want to sell their product. Then there it's like they give me their recipe. They give me their recipe and like the recipe in making the product, and it's like they strictly like they I don't know to like it's like you don't have to add anything to that recipe, and you don't have to you just have to use that same recipe as like you are working on that, then maybe that's
Okay.
how it looks like. It's like they are the franchise store and you are the franchisee. You want to work under them.
Okay. Well
So I
noted.
think that's how they get it up.
Okay. Okay. So I got the point Rashid made. I just wanted to add a little clarification. So yes, franchising is that arrangement, right, where the parent company, right, tries to give, local businesses or grant them the right to use or operate its brand name, okay, or use their original business model in their local country, okay, in exchange for some royalty or fee that is paid to that parent company. Now, the parent company, as Rashid mentioned, is the franchisor, right? And then the local company that has gotten that right becomes the franchisee, okay? So it is that arrangement where KFC would maybe businesses in Ghana want to, operate similar business in Ghana, right? So they get the right to use their recipe. But the point is that, you see, the KFC in the United States of America, trust me, has some unique difference from that in Ghana, because the taste of Ghanaians and the taste of Americans are different. So even though the recipe is virtually the same, it is not the same. There are little tweaks here and there. That's the point I wanted to make about Rashid's point. So they can copy, but sometimes they add some little modifications. Because trust me, if you enjoy KFC in Ghana and you go to America, you see that there's some difference, probably in the what those who do cooking, what do they say it, in the seasoning and certain things, there'll be a little change, right? Because the local businesses would have to adapt to the taste of their local customers. Okay, that is why some people say that Coca-Cola in even Nigeria tastes different from the one in Ghana, right? So the recipe, the combination, the formula might be the same, but sometimes there are little tweaks to at least adapt to the taste of the local customers. So that's the point there. So professors, as you have mentioned, franchising is one of the approaches, right? Franchise. Okay. So I'll not dig much into this because groups are going to take this thing out. So franchising is one of them. Let's go to the next one. We also have joint venture, joint venturing or joint venture. So what is joint venturing? The name should suggest to you what it means. Joint venturing. Any idea? Yes, Selecom.
So please, when two companies from different organizations or countries decide to work together and share ownership.
Okay. So I think in Ghana, most of our road, constructions are done using this kind of approach where the Chinese companies come to form partnership with some local companies to be able to jointly, construct the road. Okay, that's why sometimes you see some Chinese employees as well as Ghanaian employees, working together as a team. So joint venture is more or less like Selecom said, an agreement between two or more, companies to work together on a particular project, share their knowledge and skills. Because the Chinese company alone cannot come and do the road in Ghana, because you get to certain places, you have to speak to people because you want to demolish their house, their stores. You need Ghanaians to speak in the language these people will understand, right? So this joint venturing arrangement helps businesses to share experience, skill, knowledge, okay, all with the aim of reaching the common goal in the foreign market or the global market. Okay. The next one, apart from joint venturing, you can also use this approach referred to as licensing. Okay, licensing. Now, licensing and franchising are virtually the same, right? But they differ in terms of nature. But in meaning or in principle, they are virtually the same. Because licensing here means that the companies, grant permission for other companies to produce or use their brand in exchange for a fee, royalty, or whatever you may call it, right? So now let me dig in. What do you think is the difference between franchising and licensing? What is the difference? Or should I give it to you as an assignment? Yes, any idea?
Please, can I come in?
The difference between franchise and license. Yes. Ethan, go ahead.
It's, the licensing, I think, is being able to get the permission to use something that is related to another company's property, whilst the franchising deals with the parent company building other brands in different countries.
Ethan, take it again. I think I was lost at a point. Take it again.
Okay, I said the licensing
Yes.
deals with getting permission to be able to use a company's property, whilst the franchising deals with the parent company building different branches in the other countries.
Okay. I think you are making a lot of valid points there. Okay. So you see, the key difference between these two is that under franchising, the franchisor, which is the parent company, is much involved with what happens with the business or how you are running your business. because if they are not careful, a little mistake you commit or a little mistake by the franchisee can affect the whole image of the parent company, right? So they are more interested in your internal controls, your management systems, etc. But in the case of licensing, the person takes his royalty or the company takes their royalty or the fee, and they don't really bother much about how you produce the goods or service or whatever. Licensing is just the right for you to use probably their brand name, their trademark, okay? That is why even in the manufacturing of vehicles, there are some vehicles that has the brand Toyota, but trust me, it was not manufactured by the actual Toyota company. Okay, it was assembled somewhere, but they have the the license to use that trademark, the Toyota trademark, right? Okay, so in licensing, there is a lot of freedom on the part of the licensee. Right? So in the licensing, we have the licensee and the licensor, right? So there is that control, full control by the licensee as to what to do with the production or whatever. But in the franchising, there is much control on the side of the franchisor, that's the parent company. Right? Please don't get confused with the franchisee, franchisor. I hope you get it right. Okay. So I would say that there are, in terms of restrictions, it is higher in franchising than in licensing. Okay. That is not to say that you can misbehave in licensing. No, there's that check, but it is not as rigorous as in franchising. Okay. Yes, Ethan, let's say.
What if two companies come together to make a joint venture, and then with that product, another company wants to use that trademark? So if they want to be able to license it, do they have to get permission from both of these separate companies, or do it in a dual contract?
So yes, if whatever you want to use is something coming from a joint venture, you cannot seek the permission of just one of the parties to the venture, to the joint venture. So example, Mr. Amwa and Mr. Jato, we are in a joint venturing teaching service. And Ethan, you want to, probably use our logo, right? Then you have to see the both of us, that new joint venture. If you come and see only Mr. Amwa, that would be a bad, that would be a bad thing, right? Because then the other company in the joint venture is not well informed. Yeah, so you have to see the joint venture business to get that permission or that franchise or that license. Okay. Yes, Augustine.
Sir, please, what about if, like, for example, you have more percentage than them, like a wild gap, like 60-40, maybe 70-30?
So yes, you are leading us to another form of approach which can be used where we have this, acquisition of what we call associates. So when that comes into the picture, right, then the one that has the major control can take the decision or can grant the permission, right? But in joint venture arrangements, control is not given to, the control is more or less like shared. It's a shared control in a joint venturing. Okay. In cases where one of the parties has higher authority over the other, it makes the whole joint venturing arrangement very chaotic. At best, the better qualification for such circumstance will be using an associate, right? An associate to the business rather than a joint venture partner. Okay. Okay, so well, professors, you are going to tell me much about these things in your presentation. So I'm just listing the approaches. But one of the groups will do that. How many groups do we have? 4, right? We have 4 groups, right? So one of the groups will tell about, yes, will tell us about these approaches, the advantages and disadvantages. So take note. Group 1 is thinking then it is for group 1. No, it can be for group 4 or group 5 or whatever. Okay, so we've mentioned franchise and joint venture and license, and let's look at you can also use the subsidiary approach. Okay, the subsidiary approach, and that was what I was talking about. Like a company in the United States of America can come to Ghana, and instead of fully taking over or buying a particular company, okay, they will adapt it as a subsidiary. Okay, a subsidiary. And let me explain this subsidiary arrangement to you so that. So, but we have wholly owned subsidiary and partially owned subsidiary. So the wholly owned is where the company will buy all the shares, 100% of that new company, right? And the partly or partial is where maybe they'll buy 40%, 30%, or what do you call it? Maybe 60%. Okay, and there are technical definitions for whatever percentage control you have over a particular business. Okay, so sometimes business don't want to come and start building a new business in the new country. So if I'm in Ghana, I have, let's say, I manufacture maybe traditional clothing, and I want to go and set up in the United States of America. You know, going there to start fresh may be difficult. So what I can do is to look out for businesses that are maybe running production of clothing and whatever, and then maybe buy shares in that company. Okay, so I can buy all the shares if I have the capacity, or I can buy some percentage of shares. Okay, and that is the subsidiary arrangement I'm talking about. Okay, but it's more advisable to get a greater control when you are dealing with this subsidiary arrangement or approach. Okay, please, any questions so far?
No, please.
Okay, that is to Josephine. The rest of you, are you okay? Daniela, is your microphone okay? Is your network okay now?
Please, now it's okay.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so I think I would pause here on the approaches. The other groups, the group will continue the discussion into details, the advantages. So advantages of franchising, advantages of licensing, disadvantages, etc. The joint venturing, etc. Okay. Now, if we are talking about international trade, then I think it makes sense to compare it with domestic trade. So it's also important that we look at the differences between international trade and domestic, which I'm sure all of you are very much okay with, right? So can we discuss a few things under this differences between international trade and domestic trade? At least now we know what international business is, so we should be able to define international trade to be any buying and selling happening across what borders. Then domestic is happening within the same country, right? So example, Mr. Amwa, I'm teaching students in Ghana. That's a domestic trade. I'm teaching them for money anyway. If the intention is not to make money, then it doesn't cut for international business, right? Or domestic business. Okay. So domestic trade happens in the same country, whilst international trade happens across borders. So that is one of the differences. We can also talk about the currencies involved. In domestic trade, you just have one currency, right? So if it's in Ghana, if it's in the United States of America, it is the dollar, right? But if it is happening between or across borders, so someone in USA trying to sell to somebody in Ghana, you see the currency issues. You have dollar against Ghana cedi, so there should be some form of foreign exchange in there, converting one currency into the other. Okay, so that's also another difference. In domestic trade, there's nothing like foreign exchange, right? But in international trade, there is that feature of foreign exchange. Then we can talk about, things like regulations, okay, economic impacts, etc. Right? So something like the regulations. If I'm in Ghana and I'm dealing with a Ghanaian customer or a Ghanaian company, the regulations are the same. But if I'm dealing with somebody in Russia or even in China, you see, two different countries, two different geographical areas who have their own unique laws and rules, right? So I would have to be dealing with, these regulation issues. And sometimes if you're not careful, the business or the transaction cannot go on because of the differences in the regulation. Okay. So in terms of the differences, you can talk about their meaning. Domestic trade involves exchange of goods or services within a single country. International has to do with several or different countries, right? And then in domestic trade, as I've mentioned, only one currency or single currency is used. In international, you have multiple currencies. Okay. In terms of regulation, international laws, agreements, regulate international trade or businesses. But in terms of domestic trade or businesses, it's just only the national laws, not the international laws. Okay. So that is that a bit about the differences. Again, another group will tell us more about this, giving us examples in. Now, let me ask you this. So, I set up a shoe factory in Ghana, right? And then I sell to a Ghanaian. Listen carefully. I sell to a Ghanaian who is living in China. Is that international trade or national trade? Should I take the question again?
Yes,
please.
So I am a Ghanaian in Ghana producing shoes. And then I sell to a fellow Ghanaian who is staying in China. Is that international trade or domestic trade? Yes, Augustine. I think this one I'll get answer from all of you, unless you all share the same answer. Yes. What?
Say please, international.
International. Do you all agree?
Yes, please.
yes, please.
But the person is a Ghanaian, no?
Yeah, but it has been transferred to a different country.
Okay, okay, awesome. So because of the cross-border, feature in that transaction makes it an international trade. Thank you. I thought you said because the person is a Ghanaian, it's a domestic trade. Yes. Any question, Rashid? Is that a question? You can go ahead.
So please say your difference between international business and international trade.
Okay, so you see, trade mostly involves goods or merchandise, right? So, well, some of these terms are used interchangeably, which confuses, students. But I tell my students, when you say trade, somebody is trading. It means that the person is dealing in tangibles, right? Goods, merchandise, right? So when services are involved, then using the word trade becomes problematic, right? But you shouldn't be surprised if you see it in a certain book or in a certain context. International trade even involves rendering of services. You shouldn't be surprised because then they are trying to contextualize it. Okay, so I think even in your manual, I'm sure you come across these things I'm saying. In your manual, you see something like exchange of goods, services, okay, and the trade, right? So in that context, they are contextualizing trade to involve all the exchange, regardless of the tangibility or non-tangibility of whatever is involved, right? Okay. And I think it's allowable, but in certain discourse, when you use the word trade, we are only specific about tangible items, right? Okay, now to the question, international trade, international business. So international business can refer to the organization who is engaged in, buying and selling or exchange or commercial transactions across countries. So international business can refer to that organization. It can also refer to that activity of transacting commercially across countries, right? It's like saying, it's like defining management. You see, sometimes management can refer to a group of people, right? Sometimes it can refer to the process. So it depends on the context in which you are using, right? So sometimes international trade can be used in place of international business. Otherwise, it all depends on the context in which the argument is being made. Okay. I don't think in exams you get that question where differentiate between international business and international trade. No, because depending on the context, people use the terms interchangeably, right? And I hope I've been able to provide some little clarity on that for you. So Rashid, are you comfortable?
Okay, I'll take it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we've also looked into the differences between international trade and domestic trade. You can also get differences between international business and domestic business, right? Okay, now the next thing that we have to look at will be, countries or businesses don't just get up and say, I want to, engage in cross-border transaction or commercial activity, right? Okay, there are certain things that induce, the idea of international business or international trade. A little to Rashid. So Rashid, in terms of context again, trade is part of business. So business is the broader term and trade is the specific term, just to, okay. But like the point I'm making is international businesses, come about because of certain reasons. Okay. They would do certain analysis and realize that, okay, I think it's better if I operate in Ghana, if I operate in the United States. Okay. So we want to discuss some of these reasons, and these reasons are bounded by some principles and rules, okay, that guide or that provide a framework for understanding how businesses can benefit from operating globally or internationally. And of course, it's important that we look at some of these things. One of them is comparative advantage. Comparative advantage. I think I would take you through, but the groups will do justice to them in detail. So we have the comparative cost advantage. Let me add the comparative cost advantage. And then we have the absolute costs. Absolute cost advantage. And then we have competitive advantage. Now, let me briefly explain these things and then we can make progress. Okay. So the comparative cost advantage says that if you're a business, if you're a country, and then you realize that, okay, another company or another country can produce goods or services at a lower cost, right? At a lower cost. Then it is better, okay, that you don't produce it yourself, but allow that company or that business or that country that can produce it at a lower cost to do the production. And then you trade with the person. So for example, if I'm in the United States and I want to produce, let's say, let me use let's say smoke, right? Smoke. Look at it. I'd have to acquire the materials from Ghana, ship it to the United States. I would have to get people from the northern region. They are known for this thing. Okay, if I move them to the United States so that they can start doing. You see the cost involved. Meanwhile, somebody is in Ghana, the northern region, can do this smoke at a far, far lesser price than what I would have to do if I want to manufacture them there. So what will I do? I'll say that, well, let me rather trade with somebody in Ghana in the northern region or a business in the northern region who is already producing this smoke. Because that company has a comparative cost advantage over me in the United States. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense to you.
Yes,
sir. So the comparative cost advantage is that businesses or countries, they compare the cost of producing a particular product or rendering a particular service. And then if they are able to determine that, oh, this can do it better at a lower cost than me, then let me trade with the person. So you see why in Ghana, instead of refining our oil, okay, and we have a company in Ghana that can do that, Tema Oil Refinery. So, but what do? We transfer the thing for them to refine it, and then we buy from them. Why? Because we think that we have done the analysis and we think that the other country can refine it at a cheaper cost than we doing it here locally. Okay, so you see the essence of why that trade with the other countries became a necessity. Even though some experts think that we can still do it here far cheaper than them. Well, it's a matter of time for us to determine the relative. So that's comparative cost advantage. And in fact, this is one of the major reasons or one of the major principles governing international trade. Okay. Now, the absolute cost, absolute cost. The absolute cost looks about efficiency. Okay, efficiency. So that one will not specifically look at the cost, but how efficient the other company or the other country is able to, produce that particular product. Efficiency. So absolute cost advantage does not look into how much it will cost you, but are you efficient? Okay. Please, you get the difference.
Sir, please, can you explain this one again?
I should take it again, eh?
Yes, please.
Okay. So the absolute cost advantage looks at efficiency. Okay. More of, are you able to use the small resources available, okay, to produce, more efficiently? So that one does not dig into the cost, right? Well, cost though, but not associated with the example I gave, right? Let me see if I can get a better example. So let's say I have one, let me use the home, very practical for example. Some mothers can prepare a nice, very, in fact, very tantalizing, if there's any word like that, forgive me, any tantalizing soup with just 1 tin tomato, two fishes, but somebody too has all the meats, everything, but who is being efficient? Definitely the one using little resources, but able to produce something that is, more palatable than somebody who has even, I don't want to put my ladies here, my lady professors on the spot, right? But among the two scenarios I narrated, who will be more efficient? Definitely the one with few resources, but was able to produce something of high quality, right? So that's the efficiency bit I'm talking about. But if you go into cost, the case might be that maybe that person, it cost that person to even get, the 2 fishes that she used, more than the person who had lots of fishes available or lots of meat available, right? That's the point I'm making about the absolute cost. So that one, the focus is on the efficiency, how you're able to use fewer resources, right? How you're able to maximize usage of fewer resources. Okay. So there are some countries, they don't have enough resources, but they are very efficient than other countries. And I can say that for Ghana and US, Ghana, in fact, we have lots of resources, Papa, lots of resources, but are we efficient? No, we waste a lot. So it will be better to trade with a business or a country who is more efficient in using these resources, right? That's the point I'm making. Does it make sense now?
Yes.
Okay. Now the last one, which is competitive advantage, competitive. So that one looks at who is doing better in terms of satisfying customers, okay, over the other. So if you're able to outperform your competitors, then you are seen to be better. So let me give an example. I'm sure when KFC was looking to doing franchising in this country, maybe they went around to see lots of businesses who are into this food, whatever. And maybe they realized that no, these particular people, they have lots of share in the market. So if we engage them, we'll do better. Okay. So competitive advantage looks at who is performing better amongst the competitors, or who is doing better in the competition. Okay. So let me give an example like MTN and MTN Ghana and Telecel. We can say that MTN Ghana, okay, has a competitive advantage over Telecel because they are doing better comparable to Telecel. Is that not true? I think it's true, right? So competitive advantage will not bother about your efficiency or your cost, whatever. No, they'll look at, and when we compare you to other companies, are you doing better? So if it's country wise, if we compare you to another country, are you doing better? Okay, then you are the one who will pick. Okay, so that is it. In terms of soccer, I don't know how many of you love soccer. You can see that Africa has competitive advantage over other countries when it comes to football or soccer because lots of the football teams have African players compared to their own, nationals, right? Because Africans can play the ball better. Is it debatable or is the real truth? Okay. So we need to know these principles, and of course, I've mentioned or I've stated something around it. I know the groups will continue. Then we would come to the documents used in international business or international trade, document use. So I'll just mention a few. The groups will look at them in details, right? There are a lot of them. We have the invoice. We are all familiar with invoice. We have the debit note, the credit note, receipt, checks, all these things are used, right? Delivery notes, but there are certain ones that we'll come to look at. Letter of inquiry, material requisition form, quotations, etc., right? So these documents, professors, when I do the grouping, you would speak to me about it, right? Specifically, let me write some of them here, the documents. So we have one called the Bill of Lading. Bill of Lading is one of the documents very key in international trade or international business. Okay. Bill of Lading. I won't speak about it because the groups will look at it. We have the certificate of origin. These are highly examinable, so take note of them. We have the certificate of origin. We have the shipping notes. We have the consular invoice. In fact, a lot of them, they are in your manual. So I'm sure when I give the group work, you go and do justice about it. Right? Okay. Then I think finally we'll talk about the benefits and challenges of international trade, which I know you know. Some of the benefits of international trade. And then most importantly, also talk about restrictions in international trade. It's not easy to do business globally or across borders. There are lots of restrictions, okay, which may come in the form of Let me list some of them here. So some of the restrictions may include we have what we call the tariffs. So there are some countries, the kind of taxes the government will levy on you alone, you run away as a business. We have the quota. Okay, we have the embargo. You know, there are some countries you cannot, go and trade certain things there. There's an embargo on it. There's a ban. Embargo simply means a ban, right? You know, there are some countries where marijuana is legal, and there are some countries they are not legal. So if you want to go and trade marijuana in that particular country, you see your level. Okay, so tariffs, quota, embargo, these are things that you talked to me about in terms of restrictions. So dear professors, I think I've been able to run around international business, but I'm sure when we go through the group presentations, we'll get more details about some of the things we have discussed. Any question at this point? We have a few minutes to wrap up. Any question? Okay, so my attention has been drawn to the fact that we just have 2 groups. So yes, I'll do the grouping this time, make it about 4. So I'll do the grouping and share on the page with all the portions that you have to present on. I really wanted to do a female-male grouping. I don't know how. I want to see the gender competitiveness. I want to see if some gender have competitive advantage over the other. Somebody is giving me a thumbs up for that. Rashid, you want the gender-based grouping, eh?
Yes, sir.
Well noted. Well, we did the mixed grouping the first time, so it's only fair that at least we do some, boys and girls grouping, and then we see how people would shine. Yeah. Okay, but we live in a world where we have, mixed genders, so you have to really adapt to the mixed grouping. Okay, so that you begin to learn and adopt to all the gender, issues that may come up. Okay. Because even if you teach in a boys' school, there are still female teachers, so you cannot run away from gender. Now they say we should say sex, not gender, because gender gives a broader definition. Somebody will come and tell you I'm a whatever. Okay, but sex is 2. You are either a male or female. Sex. That is biologically dichotomous. But gender, now you know now what is happening with the gender. Some people are saying is it pansexual, disexual, and polysexual. Anyways, that's a debate for the social studies people to do, right? Not business. But I know all my professors here are either a male or a female. Thank you. So I'll do the grouping and then I'll share with you on the page. If there are no questions, professors, I'll beg to wrap up the class by saying today we went into international business. At least we've discussed some of the concepts in international business. We made specific mention of some of the international businesses operating in Ghana and all that. And we looked at the differences between international business or international trade and domestic trade or domestic businesses, right? And then we sought to also look at the approaches. We can use franchising, licensing, or joint venturing, and even subsidiary arrangement. And then we saw that, however, there are some restrictions when you are dealing, globally or across borders, like tariffs, quota, embargo, etc. Okay, so I'll share the remaining things for you to go into details. Your first reference will be your manual. Then you can add on further information from other sources you gather. Okay, so I'll see you on Thursday, God willing. Right. So I think Thursday you'll start your group discussions. I'll try to join most of the group discussion. Please, group leaders, give me reports this time. Last time you did a good job by giving me the reports. And then hopefully next week, Tuesday, we can see if we can deal with it. Or we can start with the presentation. Okay. Then maybe Thursday would write our tests on the international business. Right. Okay. So I'll see you when I see you. Take very good care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. The ladies always say bye-bye. The gentlemen, you always eat up my bye-bye.
It's a goodbye.
Goodbye.
So when people were
Yeah,
saying
bye-bye.
you see, the males always spoiling the bye-bye, bye-bye. And whilst people are saying bye, you are saying bye-bye, goodbye. I'll catch you people.